Well, it's game day against one of our dreaded enemies, the Boston Bruins. One of the things I thought about this summer, besides doing fun things with the crazy hot weather we had here this year, is how free agency went for some of our foes. And yes, this is some of the things I think about. Now, who are our primary foes? Well, I'd say Edmonton, and they were busy this summer. A new foe perhaps in Nashville, but not really, not for us. But they might have an axe to grind based on how the playoffs went for them. And of course, we have old foes that have become a shadow of the teams that we hated, like Calgary, Chicago, and the New York Rangers, of course, for '94. So this summer, Edmonton was busy, and they did well, I thought, with their signings. And I thought they got better players compared to what they're doing. But it's not going currently as expected based on who they added to their lineup. But we'll save that for another day and another video. And yes, Edmonton spanked us last game, and I was busy and I didn't have a chance to do this style of video for that game. That's almost a bit of a savior based on how that game went. But I did have time to do it for today's game. So let's get to the topic of today's video. Yes, the Boston Bruins. Perhaps our most hated foe ever? The Bruins. How did they do this summer? Not only are they still enemy number one in this town, but they stole not just one, but two of our players after we couldn't sign them. So let's take a look. How are they doing? Actually, we'll do that in a minute. Let's first see how EA Hockey 2025 rated the Bruins. Let's check it out. We can see that the three players they've got on top, of course, as should be, is Pastrnak, McAvoy, and Marchand. Okay, that's to be expected. And we've got Hughes, Miller, and Demko, which is good, but obviously Demko is injured. All right, so this lineup for the Bruins is basically, it's a modified version of what they had for the playoffs. So Zaka, I watched him for my long-term pool last year. I tried to pick him up. He was stolen away from me, but he didn't do very good. For such a high draft pick, he has not turned the corner that most people expected for such a high pick. And of course, we've got Lindholm here. Elias Lindholm is ranked in 85, which is pretty good. Watching Lindholm with us, but watching him the prior 2 years, maybe even the 3 years before, he's been cold. He's been dead cold. And I thought that Alvin taking a chance on him was definitely the right move. We still had a very, very, very cold version of Lindholm. When he first came to the league, I had him in my long-term pool. I drafted him. And so I've always kept an eye on him. He's a great player. He is a fantastic player. But he is currently, he's 29 now. So you don't know if it's injuries, it's a toll on the body. He's not a big guy. He's listed at 6'1", 202. He plays a lot smaller than that. So, maybe he can take the abuse and dish out a hit or two, but ranked 85. I mean, he should be a great ad for them. With the loss of Bergeron in Boston, it's almost a no-brainer heir apparent to that number one center role. And that's where they've got him there. Obviously with Pastrnak. Pastrnak he's the real deal. He's been doing it for year after year. I also drafted him in my long-term hockey pool. I traded him away, trying to make moves to win championships. So again, I've always kept my eye on him, and he's amazing. He's fantastic, ranked in 95. So that's actually interesting because he's ranked so much higher than Lindholm, and Lindholm should be closer to about, I'd say, an 89, 90, but he's been so stone cold, it's crazy. And look, even Marchand is rated higher than he is at an 89. And that's tough because, Marchand he's old. He's 36 years old. You can see the wear and tear on his body. He is at the tail end of his career. Even coming into the 2011 playoffs, it was only he was just barely out of a rookie year. So, he's been playing for a long time. He's been super effective, but, even EA having him on the second line is interesting. Charlie Coyle, Geeky. Coyle's been doing pretty good. He's also ranked in 85. I find that very disrespectful. And Geeky at 83. 85 for Lindholm is very low then in comparison. Charlie Coyle is a fine player. He's not a game breaker. He's just a solid roster player for them. Geeky's kind of an up and comer. And all the rest of these guys are unknowns. Overall, this is not a very deep roster. The Bruins are basically verging on rebuild mode. Once Marchand goes, I figure they're going to have to tear it down a little bit more and or have a couple of draft picks. Wojciech is pretty good. I don't mind him. Beecher's been interesting. This Brazeau is interesting. He is a monster. But they have, that lineup is terrible. When I game captured this off the Xbox, I didn't notice and I didn't pay attention to all of it there. But that is not a great squad. All right, so let's go to the defense. So there's our boy, Zadorov. He's only ranked in 84, and he's automatically gone to the number one pair defense. That's cool. That's great. Lindholm has been really solid for them over the years. Carlo is pretty good. 86. Look at that. Lindholm at 87 and Carlo at 86 both rank higher than Elias Lindholm. That's not good. This Lorelei is pretty good. He's interesting. He's got flashes of offense, and this peak I don't know that much about. But I would just say that this is not a deep Bruins team. This is a far cry from the team that challenged 3 times for the cup in the last decade. Yeah, it's not good. Based on our team last year, so on November 26th, the Canucks playing them today. You know, we're not firing on all cylinders either, but I think our depth is close to top 5 in the league, if not top 3. I have to evaluate that a little bit closer, but we are deep. Defense has a couple more holes with Zadorov leaving. We've tried to plug them, but I don't think that, in theory, now obviously we have no Miller. PD is not firing on all cylinders. So this should be a good match tonight. I don't think that it's going to be a cakewalk. The Canucks shouldn't lose to the Bruins, but you never know. You know, and this is what the regular season's for. We're obviously struggling. And, you know, we've got the whole season figured out. Now, Swayman is an excellent goalie. Korpisalo, he's flirted with being okay, but he has been super inconsistent. So the Bruins are not, I mean, Swayman, people are balking about his $8 million, but he's worth it. When you figure that the top end players are now 15, 16, 17 million, McDavid hasn't signed, so you're at the 15, 16 million range for a player. What's McDavid going to get? 17? 18? What's he going to sign for? So at $8 million, you're at only half of the best players in the league. So Swayman is a good deal. And Demko is an unbelievable deal, but that's his contract's old. So the Bruins should be okay, but they are in rebuild mode. Now let's see how they're actually doing this season right now. So as expected, Pastrnak is doing well. He's leading almost a point a game. That's fine. That's expected. But Marchand, 15 points. Lindholm at 10 points in 22 games. Canuck fans would be losing their minds right now. So in some ways, we might have dodged a bullet. He might be, based on how the Bruins season go this year, trade deadline for the Bruins this year will be very interesting, depending on what they want to do. Because no one is doing well. And let's look at our friend, Nikita Zadorov. 5 points. At least he's a zero for a plus minus. 46 minutes in penalties. He got a couple of fights, or one fight that I saw anyways. Canuck fans again would be losing their minds. The Zadorov that we got versus this Zadorov, I mean, it's not the same. The Lindholm we got is almost the same. So, how are they doing? I don't think so good. They've got a lot of work to do to improve their roster. But they also won a cup. They've also gone to the finals a couple times after that. So, you know, they've had their moment in the sun, and so it'll be curious to see what they do. I mean, we lost to them in 2011. It's been a struggle since. We've had a couple of rough years. Last year was awesome. But obviously, in theory, we should be further ahead. We are further ahead. I don't think our record or performance at the moment shows that. But that's the case for how I'm seeing the Bruins and as a rival with the Canucks. Well, that's it for this video. Just a quick one. The Rival series is something I'm going to be doing for a few more of the teams. I don't know if the Canucks have any true heated rivals at the moment past Edmonton or Boston. Some of that's recent history. Some of that's in the rearview mirror history with 2011. But that's fine. That's the beauty and the suffering of being a Canucks fan. So until next time, I just want to say thanks for spending a few minutes with me. Go Canucks, go. And remember, there's only one goal. Win that